You, me, and the refugees. Australia's refugee policies are a fiercely debated topic. We are often accused of not doing our bit, despite constantly increasing our intake.
The government will increase the refugee and humanitarian intake in the next budget by a total of 7,500 places.
But how does taking in refugees affect the average Aussie? If you live in Victoria and need to use the public health system, you may well have to wait, because refugees are given priority 1 access to health and dental services in front of Australians. If you live in New South Wales and are applying for that cushy government job, you too will need to join the queue behind refugees who get priority over Aussies. But it doesn't stop there. New South Wales taxpayers are also forced to subsidise the cost of public transport for refugees.
Transport concessions for asylum seekers in this state.
The list goes on and on, but these minor costs pale in comparison to the massive $900 million bill burdened on taxpayers to bring an extra 12,000 of them here. Of course, you can't have this conversation without being told that Australia should be ashamed of its heritage and history. Because some people believe that the land belongs solely to the Aboriginals.
Aboriginal land! Always was, always will be Aboriginal land!
The very same people who believe they have the right to demand that refugees are brought to a country that they claim isn't theirs. Clearly these people wouldn't know hypocrisy if it slapped them in the face. A favourite argument for bringing in more refugees is Australia was built by immigrants, or we are all descendants of boat people. But obviously there's a huge difference between the hard-working post-war migrants
We who were driven from our homes are overjoyed to be welcomed as new Australian citizens.
and the refugees that we see today. Some will argue it's about compassion and empathy, yet they happily ignore Aussies who are in desperate need.
Homeless people are being forced to set up camp in the CBD at an alarming rate.
While Australians languish on the streets, we see situations like in Victoria, where the Planning Minister has fast-tracked the housing of refugees with some of our most vulnerable citizens.
And I'm angry about this because I care about our aged people. They have a right to be in a place they feel safe and looked after.
To be fair though, not all refugees turn out to be murderous shitbags like Man Monis or Farhad Jabbar. There is of course success stories like that of Deng Adut.
Let me share with you part of my story.
For every success story, how many potential terrorists are we letting in though?
If you wanted to get into Australia, and you have bad intentions, what do? You insert yourself in a crowd of 100.
Even some of their neighbouring Muslim countries are not prepared to take the risk with these people.
يكون مرتين أسهل. في النهاية لا تستطيع أنك أنت تستقبل ناس آخرين من بيئة أخرى من مكان آخر في عندهم مشاكل نفسية أو عصبية أو عندهم تروما وتدخلهم في.
When these facts are coupled with figures released by the Department of Social Services, showing that 93% of refugees that arrived in 2013 are still unemployed.
Mohammed and his harem. He has 4 children, 3 homes and multiple wives, and we'll show you how he's claiming welfare payments galore.
Hey, easy, man. Hey.
It's hardly surprising that the majority of Australians don't want more largely incompatible refugees flooding into our country. Make sure you check us out on Facebook. Stand Up for Australia.